Now, you did say something like incarnation. This is another interesting thing that I don't know if you want to say anything about that because we're moving towards the end of the conversation just now.
Yeah, so earlier I said that me and my cousin were reincarnated from the same person, right? And I used to think this was common knowledge with a lot of Igbo people, but I'm coming to find that a lot of the more Christian families kind of avoid this. So when you're at home, they will tell you who you're reincarnated for, who you are incarnate of, right? Okay, previously you were this person and you've come back. Previously you were that person and you've come back, that kind of thing. And there are certain rules that go with it. So, for example, if I passed away, my cousin, I think there's three of us that come from the same person. They can't come to my funeral. If they pass away, I can't go to their funeral, right? There are certain things that we're going to celebrate together, right? We can't go to the grave sites of the individual who we incarnate from. And then if we go to, like, for example, the individual I am incarnate of is, or incarnated from a semi-distant family. We're related by an ancestor removed by four generations, but he was a good friend of my grandfather. And so if I go to his place, they'll call me his name, especially the older women. You understand? You'll have situations where a man will pass away and then we're incarnate to a little boy, and the wife will come and cook for him every now and then, right? The wife will come and cook for the person now and then. They'll call, oh, my husband, that kind of thing. It's very, so I swear, I believe it's common, but a lot of people don't know who they incarnate from. So the thing I always tell people, so how do I begin? If you are not, because I don't consider people outside of Africa, like in the Caribbean or North America, as not African. But if you're coming here within one or two generations, right, there is a difference then, of course. If you're coming within one or two generations, one of the first things to do is figure out who you're reincarnating from. This is your Onyewa, right? And so the way that works is that each individual is, I have a video on this too. It's called Reincarnation, or Iluwa, Ilouwa explained. Iluwa, right? The return to the world, right? That kind of thing. It's also in my Agon AGWU explained video. And so each person is a composite of four things, right? Chi, your God, right? That's the spark that brought you into creation. Eke, you as creation, the manifestation of that chi. Agun, which is also known as Onyowa, specifically in this case, Onyowa. And then Mo, which you can call spirit, but is closer to your aura. It's the unseen elements of you. Everybody is a composite of those four things, right? So when you pass away, each part goes back to its source, right? Eke, dust to dust, ashes to ashes. That's more, Allah more returns to more. You understand? Your chi returns to Chuku, the big chi. You understand? And then that third part, your abu, your onyuwa, begins the process of trying to come back into the world again. Why? Because this is the part of you that has a purpose and knows your purpose and is in the world for a reason. You've brought this up a few times. You understand? This is the part of you that has it's coming here for a reason, right? It begins the process of reincarnating. And if it did well in the previous life, it will multiply into many children to get the mission done. So think of it like a company. Somebody wants to sell lemonade. My niece set up a stand recently that's selling lemonade and that kind of thing. So somebody wants to sell lemonade, and they go through 1 year of selling lemonade and they do very well. Well, now they can set up 3, 4, 5 lemonade stands to achieve this purpose on a bigger scale. If they do well again another year, maybe they can set up 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that kind of thing. But if they fail, maybe the next time they come back, instead of having 2, now they have 1. We see this with business all the time, right? So your agon, that part of you, your onyuwa, that does that incarnating process, it can multiply into multiple people if it did well in the previous. So mine is in 3 children now. My sisters, the person my sister reincarnated from, I believe there's about 5 of them, right? And the interesting thing is you'll notice some parallels that you guys will have through life. And if you go to the original family of that person, they'll tell you where that came from. It's a very interesting thing, right? So, for example, my sister incarnated from a woman who had no teeth by the time she died. And all of the people who reincarnate, it's very difficult to find people at home that have problems with their teeth. At least compared to the West or the U.S. The U.S. I don't know about Europe, but the U.S. specifically, everybody's got some pain in their mouth, right? Everybody that reincarnated from this woman all have a lot of problems with their teeth. My wife, she incarnated from a blind woman. Everybody that incarnated from this blind woman have issues with their eyes. My wife was bumping into walls at the age of 2, that kind of thing, right? So it just happens my son reincarnated from my grandfather, right? And there's a very specific way my grandfather is, and there's a very specific way my son is, and you can't tell me other, like I see it. You understand? And so even those people, right? The people that you incarnate from the same person, you'll have commonalities, right? One of the things I have in common with the other two is that we like to pull away from the crowd and do our own thing, right? And it's usually something more sedentary, more kind of calmer. So when the other kids would be playing like football, we would go over here and like I remember we set up we would have grasshoppers, right? And we had a fighting league of grasshoppers. So it started with me and Emeka. We were just doing it, and then all of a sudden all the other kids started joining, things like that. And that's how it always was with me and Emeka. Like we would always just pull off and do our own thing. Like when we were doing that Nweye Chim, not every kid does Nweye Chim, but we pulled off, we did our own, we were taking it very seriously, and then all of a sudden other people were like, oh, what are you guys doing? And it starts spreading and that kind of thing. That was something that the two of us had in common. You understand? We work best when we pull away and do our own thing our own way. That type of thing. We're not really hard for us to move with a crowd, that kind of thing. So I have not learned enough about the person I reincarnated from. But during my wedding, when I went back for my wedding, his son came to the wedding. And his son followed me everywhere. Everywhere. Like we would go everywhere together, and he would talk to me like his father. Like he wouldn't talk to me like an elder. This is a 70-some-year-old man. I'm thinking maybe late 60s. But he would talk to me like his father. You understand? And so that is the reincarnation just from a lived experience. That kind of.
That's very interesting, though.
Yes.
That's really very interesting.
Yeah.
Because this reincarnation is also something that is strong among Asian people, no, among Asian people. Even when you talk of the Wenke, is it Wenke you call it, where children go to make this is not the real masquerade now, the masquerade of children.
Yes.
We did it. All of us did it. Anyway, I don't want to go into that but I'm trying to see that a lot of pattern here that is sort of common all across now.
Oh, yeah.
And where you are coming from is far from where I'm coming from in Nigeria, no? Because Nigeria is not a small village. It's a huge country, 3 times the size of Italy, no?
Yes.
How do you know who you reincarnate from?
Oh, good question. There's different methods. There's different methods. The most controversial is that a lot of mothers will tell you that they themselves know, right? And that one is controversial. People say, no, that one is not true, that kind of thing. The second one, but the ones that are more repute or like less controversial, followed more, is they'll use they'll use divination, right? And they'll figure out who you are. So this is something that you would go to a dibia for, right? Another way is other than a dibia will take the child and will call the child different names, and they'll be mindful of the reactions. And then from there, they'll know, okay, this is this person that's coming into the world, that kind of thing. And so, again, and it's interesting, too, because as you grow older, you'll now start seeing all these commonalities. Like one is my youngest brother. My youngest brother has a scar on his head right here. He went and met my uncle, who he reincarnated from, incarnated to 3 children. He met all of them, and they all had some type of scar on their head somewhere. Right? So through life, you'll be seeing these patterns that you have with these people. And there's a way that you guys will kind of, like, your life stories will kind of play out in a similar way or the same way with circumstantial nuances, differences, things like that. So yeah, but the most common and reputed way to do it is going to a dibia, and they do divination, they do alpha. From alpha, they can then know who it is that is returning into the world in the form of this child and so forth. And then also something that I don't make enough emphasis on, some people are coming for the first time, right?
Okay, what do you want to say about that? How are they coming for the first time? So, where have they been all this while?
This person is a new strand in the fabric of creation, right? This is a new trend. Think of it like when you're weaving cloth. You take a string, you tie it to a needle, right? Now, the purpose of the thing you're doing is to move that string across a specific pattern. So you're looping up, which is living, then you die, you loop down, then you loop back up again, and you just keep doing this until you reach the very end. Well, sometimes you begin with a new string. Okay, now we're going to do red. Now we're going to do red. Okay, so you loop a red string around the needle, and then you begin the process. So some people are coming for the first time. Some people are, that's my niece there. Some people are coming for the first time. Some people have been there many times. There's in Igbo language we say mwasa, like for like you typically a very beautiful woman, but like somebody who's very excellent, somebody that just brings excellence and mwasa, that kind of thing, which translates roughly to a child of seven, right? Which means this person has been here 7 times. And it said that after seven, the pattern ends. You stop the reincarnating process. So this person has been here so many times that they're, when I don't know if you play video games or anything like that, but if you play a video game that you've played many times, the first time it's going to be difficult. If you've played this thing 7 times, you know where all the cheats are and all the little things and, that kind of thing. So somebody who's just moving through the world very easily and creating excellence, we call wasa, that kind of thing.